Similarly, first-century Gnosticism was comprised of a loose set of doctrines being taught by a very disparate group of both Gentile and Jewish practitioners. It may be the case that the Jewish Gnostics focused upon mystical interpretations of the law, while the Gentiles applied themselves more to pagan philosophy. But Gnosticism was nothing if not highly eclectic, and all of these individuals seem to have had no trouble adopting and incorporating any and all truth, which allowed them to persuade their contemporaries to become their dedicated followers. Anything that lent itself to the excesses which in turn served as the bait to lure others into their trap was welcome, just as in the case of comparable modern-day cult movements. Paul warned about the danger of being deceived by these charlatans and their false teachings. Beware lest anyone cheat you through philosophy and empty deceit, according to the tradition of men, according to the basic principles of the world, and not according to Christ. Colossians chapter 2, verse 8. The main distinction Paul draws when speaking of these issues here is between philosophy, specifically incipient Gnosticism, and legalism, the traditions of men. Both stemmed mainly from Jewish sources, and specifically from false interpretations of the law, the latter more obviously than the former, but the two are distinctive enough to differentiate. Here, while Paul is speaking mostly of the former, it is clear when one considers all of his comments on the subject that Gnosticism too was rooted in Jewish tradition as applied, or misapplied, to natural phenomena, that is, in the passage quoted, the elemental principles, or stoicheia. O Timothy, guard what was committed to your trust, avoiding the profane and idle babblings and contradictions of what is falsely called knowledge, literally gnosis. By professing it, some have strayed concerning the faith. 1 Timothy 6:20 and 21. Gnosticism thus straddled Jewish and pagan false teaching, a fact which contributed to broadening its appeal, with each group being initiated thereby into secrets which were generally the province of the other group. It was a very dangerous mix of lies which could lead to apostasy, straying from the faith as in the passage quoted. Imagine astrology, angel numbers, exorcism-based spiritual warfare, mysticism, justified licentiousness for any manner of debauched behavior, since matter was deemed evil and illusory, so that it was unimportant to the enlightened, all wrapped up in a supposedly biblical and spiritual cover, and you will see Gnosticism's appeal to unbelievers, and to those who were following Christ carelessly and lackadaisically. The appearance of learned teachers of the law and professors of secular philosophy on the doorsteps of these early churches, heralding mysterious revelations which were from God, so they said, and which promised an end to the strictures and restrictions of true biblical Christianity. Along with deliverance from the boredom of mere Bible study, had enough of an immediate impact to prompt Jude to write this emergency epistle, Jude chapter 1, verse 3, and also enough staying power to prompt Peter to address the same issue in detail a generation later. Our present context in this epistle, 2 Peter chapter 2. Gnosticism paraded as a means for helping God through combat with unseen evil forces, and said combat frequently involving illicit sexual behavior, which of course required the participant to turn Scripture on its head. Herein we see all three satanic lies on full display, turning away from the truth to a substitute, alternative truth, then indulging oneself with no thought of God's authority, then finally justifying oneself by replacing God in one's heart with another God, who needed help in fighting this fight against Satan. Revelation even calls the enigmatic, shadowy, and constantly shifting principles upon which this movement was based the deep things of Satan, Revelation chapter 2, verse 24, because they are actually the devil's lies, not in any way hostile to him in fact. Secret knowledge has always been appealing to the naive. Otherwise there would be no explanation for Scientology, or of Eve's fascination with the idea of becoming like God, or gods, through eating of the tree of knowledge. And it is easy to claim such knowledge, especially if it is only grudgingly given out and at a high price. The fact of such stinginess and demand for great compensation for its dispersal and great sacrifice in order to be enlightened has historically always seemed to have piqued the interest of many victims. In essence, Gnosticism promised the thrill of spiritual combat with the forces of the devil, while in actual fact serving Satan. It posited cosmic powers called aeons, demons essentially, which could be neutralized through various means, thus prompting its new acolytes to open themselves up to demon influence and even possession in the case of unbelievers. Taking part in various sorts of odd, arcane, and often also scurrilous behavior was one of the primary means of contacting, engaging with, and ostensibly subduing these evil entities. Gnosticism thus had the advantage of legitimizing all manner of sinful activities committed by pagans in the course of their religious ceremonies, but now in the good cause of helping God. In short, it is not difficult to see the appeal of this movement, which had something for everyone. It revealed mystic, secret knowledge, opened up the unseen world of angels and angelic combat, and turned gross sin into a holy pursuit. When wrapped in a cloak of biblical teaching, proffered by distinguished persons, it is no doubt a testimony to those early generations of church-age believers that more did not fall under Gnosticism's spell. But you do have this in your favor, the fact that you hate the works of the Nicolaitans, that is, Gnostics and other false teachers of the time, which I also hate. Revelation chapter 2, verse 6. All of this is more than merely historical or loosely applicable to us today. During the tribulation, Satan and his Antichrist will launch the ultimate religion, which will differ from Gnosticism only in its greatly expanded and all-inclusive nature. That religion, being on the one hand equally seductive in its clever appeal to all manner of secret desires, will also add the pressure of being compulsory on the other. Faced with the prospect of absolute ostracism, even from buying and selling, and possible martyrdom for refusing to join by taking the mark of the beast, many will find the inclusivity of the beast's pseudo-church appealing, especially since it will be coupled with all manner of alluring benefits in the manner of Gnosticism, albeit taking these excesses to never-before-seen levels. We see the early stages of this development today, of course. Believers who recognize the present dangers should keep in mind that they are mild compared to what will soon be unleashed, and do their best to start preparing spiritually here and now, so as to be able to meet the challenge when it comes. And all the inhabitants of the earth will worship the beast, that is, all whose names are not still written in the book of life, where they were written from the beginning of the world, even the book which belongs to the Lamb who was slain. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. If anyone is destined for captivity to captivity, he will go. If it is necessary for anyone to be put to death by the sword he must be put to death. Herein lies the perseverance and the faithfulness of the holy ones. Revelation chapter 13, verse 8 through 10. While not meant to be exhaustive, the following terms often refer to Gnostics and Gnostic teaching in the New Testament. Gnosis, literally knowledge, Romans chapter 2, verse 22 and 1 Corinthians 8:1. Later, Gnostics taught that salvation came through knowledge, which allowed the practitioner to escape the hold of the evil physical body through asceticism or licentiousness, or a combination of both in alternation. Informed by knowledge, the initiate sought enlightenment and deliverance from material existence into the spiritual plane by means of denigrating the body. Gnosis is the word from which this movement later derived its name, falsely so, as Paul assures us. O Timothy, guard what was committed to your trust, avoiding the profane and idle babblings and contradictions of what is falsely called knowledge, literally gnosis. By professing it, some have strayed concerning the faith. 1 Timothy 6:20 and 21.